Some stories begin with a battle. This one begins much quieter in a dark forest after something falls from the sky. Thank you for being here and spending a little time with this story. If you enjoy emotional science fiction, a like, a comment, or a subscription would mean a lot. And sharing the story with someone else always helps. Now, let's step into Blackridge Forest, where one human finds a wounded enemy in the rain and has to decide what a life is worth before he knows the whole truth. Earth protected the soldier, who carried the names they tried to erase. The first thing Rourke taught his students was that fear had a sound, not a scream. Screams came later, after the mind had already lost its grip. Fear was the snapped twig nobody admitted hearing. The breath held too long, the metal buckle touched by a shaking hand. The sudden silence of birds when something heavier than weather moved through the trees. On that wet October night in Blackridge Forest, Adam stood beneath a row of dark pines and listened to 12 adults trying not to be afraid. They were not soldiers. They were search volunteers, park medics, 2 young firefighters, one schoolteacher who had survived a flood, and a father who wanted to learn how to keep his family alive if the mountain roads washed out again. Adam had spent the last 6 years teaching people like them how to move in darkness, read slope and wind, and keep their heads when the world stopped behaving like it should. He preferred them to soldiers. Civilians listened differently. They did not pretend danger was a game. "Stop," Adam said. The line froze. Rain tapped on the leaves above them. Somewhere downhill, a creek pushed white water over stones. The students stood with red tape over their flashlights, packs close to their backs, faces pale in the thin light. Adam lifted 2 fingers, then pointed to the ground. They crouched. "What changed?" he asked. A firefighter named Jules looked left, then right. "Wind dropped?" "No." "The creek got louder?" Someone whispered no. The schoolteacher Maria swallowed. "No insects," Adam nodded once. "That is the forest telling you something moved through it that did not belong." A nervous laugh went through the group. Then the sky broke open. A blue line tore across the clouds. Too bright to be lightning and too slow to be a meteor. It came down over the northern ridge, trailing green fire. For one breath, every wet leaf in the forest shone like glass. Then the sound reached them. It was not thunder. It was metal dying. The object struck beyond the ridge with a heavy, earth-deep crash that rolled through the trunks and shook water from the branches. The students shouted. One firefighter reached for his radio. Adam was already moving. "Lights off," he said. "Everyone to the south marker. Jules, take lead. Maria, count heads every 5 minutes. No one follows me." "Adam, what was that?" "I do not know." That was true. It was also the first thing he had said all night that did not make anyone feel safer. He took his field pack, checked the sidearm he hoped not to use, and pulled a thermal hood over his head. He did not run. Running was for open ground, panic, and people who had not learned that forests punished speed. He moved fast anyway. Quiet between trunks, boots finding roots before weight came down. By the time he reached the ridge, the rain smelled wrong. Hot metal, burned plastic, a bitter mineral tang that made his tongue tighten. The crash site lay in a shallow cut below him. Trees had been sheared off, as if a giant hand had dragged a blade through them. At the center of the scar rested a craft no bigger than a truck cab, blackened, split along one side. Its surface pulsing faintly with blue seams of light. Not human. Adam had seen alien ships before, though mostly from a distance. Earth had been part of the Council corridors long enough for ports, embassies, and rescue lanes to become news instead of miracles. But Blackridge Forest was not a port. It was not a corridor. Nothing from orbit was supposed to be falling here. He slid down the slope. A shape moved inside the wreck. Adam stopped behind a snapped cedar, lifted his weapon, and waited. A hand appeared first. Long fingers, grey skin. Armor plates fused over the wrist. Then a helmet struck the edge of the opening from inside. Once, twice, the third time. The cracked visor gave way. The soldier fell halfway out of the craft and hit the mud on his shoulder. He was tall, but folded by injury. His armor was dark silver beneath the burns, marked on the chest by a black spear inside a white ring. Adam recognized the emblem, the Varkhen Guard. Every newsfeed in the last month had shown that symbol moving through smoke over Vera, a mining world on the edge of council space. The reports called them peacekeepers, stabilizers, a lawful force restoring order after civilian unrest. The soldier dragged one arm beneath him. Something small and hard glowed in his other hand. Adam stepped out where the soldier could see him. "Do not move." The alien looked up. His face was narrow under the broken helmet, with high bone ridges along the temples and pale eyes that could not focus. Dark blood ran from his mouth. He did not reach for the weapon clipped to his thigh. Instead, he pushed the glowing object into the mud in front of him. When he spoke, his voice came through the damaged translator in a rough, delayed rasp. They erased their names first. Adam kept the weapon steady. "Who did?" The soldier tried to breathe. The armor made a clicking sound in his chest, like a machine deciding whether to keep him alive. "The convoy," he said. "Arlen, Corin Valley. Do not let them take me back." Lights moved high above the trees, not lightning. Search beams. Adam crouched, stripped the weapon from the soldier's thigh, and dragged him behind the cedar, just as a thin white scan swept across the crash site. The soldier groaned, but he did not fight. Adam pressed one hand against the damaged armor at his ribs. Warm fluid leaked between plates. The man's pulse, if that was what Adam felt, beat too fast. "Name!" The alien's eyes rolled toward him. "Kael Vorn. Who is coming for you?" Kael's mouth twisted. "My own." The search beam crossed the wreck again. This time, something small and silent moved below it. A drone, no bigger than a hawk, sliding between trees with no sound of rotors. Adam lowered his voice. "Kael, if you lie to me, I leave you here. I know. What is in your hand?" "Proof and a lock." "A lock to what?" Kael looked past him toward the moving lights. His fingers closed around the glowing core, as if it were the last warm thing in the world. An attack already ordered. The drone turned. Adam had 3 seconds. He scooped mud in one hand and smeared it over the glowing core. With the other, he grabbed a strip of emergency foil from his pack and wrapped it around the soldier's wrist plate. The drone passed above them, hesitated, then drifted toward the wreck. Adam waited until it turned away. Then he hauled Kael upright. The alien was heavier than he looked. Adam felt the drag in his knees, the old ache in his left shoulder, and the memory of another extraction under another sky. He pushed the memory down. Memories could be dealt with later. Weight came first. Direction came second. Time came third. "Can you walk?" "No." "Then fall forward when I move." Kael gave a weak sound that might have been a laugh. "That is walking." "Tonight it is." Adam pulled him into the trees behind them. The first Varkhen search team reached the wreck. They did not call out for survivors. They opened fire into the escape pod. The sound was sharp, controlled, professional. Not panic, not rescue, execution. Kael flinched so hard, Adam nearly lost him. Adam put his mouth close to the alien's ear. "Do exactly what I say, or both of us die before you explain anything." Kael closed his eyes once. Then he fell forward when Adam moved. They went downhill through wet laurel and black stone. Adam chose the creek line because water broke scent, confused thermal scatter, and hid bad footwork. Kael had plenty of bad footwork. Twice he nearly collapsed. The third time, Adam shoved him under a rock shelf and pressed a hand over the glowing seam in his armor until it dimmed. A drone passed above the creek. Kael's breath rattled. "How do they scan?" Adam whispered. "Heat, motion, trace metals. Varkhen armor speaks to itself. Can yours be silenced?" "Not while I am bleeding through it." Adam looked at him. "That was worth saying earlier. I was busy falling from the sky." Adam took a ceramic knife from his pack and slid it beneath a warped plate near Kael's shoulder. Kael stiffened. "If there is a beacon in here, I remove it. You may trigger the purge charge." Adam paused. "There is a charge?" "Small, to destroy classified remains. That includes you?" Kael did not answer. Adam worked slower. He had cut men out of body armor, seat frames, and collapsed roofs. Alien engineering was different, but injury was not. Pressure mattered. Breathing mattered. Panic killed. He found a small oval node pulsing beneath the shoulder plate, wedged too neatly to be structural. Is this it? Kael turned his head. Yes. Adam cut the tissue gel around it, slipped the node free, and held it under the creek until the pulsing light died. Then he tossed it into a fast channel between stones. The current took it downhill. 30 seconds later, 3 drones swept away from them. Adam helped Kael up again. You just bought us 5 minutes, Kael said. I need 6. They made it to the old training cabin with less than 1. The cabin was not on any public map. Adam had built it from an abandoned ranger storehouse and used it for advanced courses, storm shelters, and the rare night when he did not want to drive home with ghosts in the passenger seat. Inside were field blankets, batteries, medical gear, water, paper maps, and walls thick enough to hold warmth. He dragged Kael inside, laid him on the floor, and barred the door. Then he aimed the gun at Kael's head. Start talking. Kael looked up at the weapon, then at Adam. His face was pale grey now. A thin line of blood trembled at his chin. You will not believe me. No, but I might believe evidence. Kael lifted the core with shaking fingers. The Arlen Convoy. 3,600 civilians from the North mining belt of Vera. Workers, families, medical staff, children. They petitioned the Galactic Council for protected status after Varkhen Command declared their district unstable. Adam kept the gun steady. Why would your people care about miners? The valley sits above old fuel veins, deep reserves, enough to supply a fleet for 20 years. There it is. Kael's eyes closed. Yes, Adam lowered the weapon a fraction. And your guard? Remove their legal standing, not with a sentence anyone would call murder. First the convoy was marked displaced, then unverified, then population risk. After that, aid ships could not land. Relief channels could not list them. Council observers could not confirm civilian status because civilian status had already been suspended. Adam had heard enough. Bureaucratic language in his life, to know when someone had built a clean hallway to a dirty room. How many are alive? I do not know. A guess. Maybe 900. Maybe less. You came to Earth because of them. Kael shook his head slightly. I came because every other channel would send me back. Adam wanted to reject that. Earth had its own cowards, its own locked doors, and its own history of calling people inconvenient names before doing convenient things to them. But Kael was not wrong about one fact. Earth had written one clause into its first sanctuary law that older powers hated. A witness could not be returned to a force credibly accused of killing civilians if that witness carried evidence that could prevent further deaths. It had sounded noble when diplomats signed it. Now, it lay bleeding on Adam's floor. The core flickered. A woman's face appeared in the dim light above it. The image was unstable, cut by static, but clear enough. She had copper-brown skin, dark oval eyes, and a strip of cloth tied around her head. Behind her, people crouched inside what looked like a mining tunnel. A child sat beside her, carefully scratching marks onto a flat piece of metal. My name is Mira Solon, the woman said. This is the Arlen Convoy. We are civilians from Vera. We are not armed forces. We are not population risk. We are families, medics, teachers, miners, and children. We are sending the ledger again. The child lifted the metal plate. Rows of names had been etched into it. The image jumped. An older man appeared next, thin and exhausted, wearing a medical wrap stained at the sleeve. Eli Morrow, civilian doctor. We have fever in the lower tunnels, 2 births expected, and 6 children who cannot walk. We have no clean supply channel. Please confirm receipt. The image cut to black. Then came a cold line of text. Clearance of Corin Valley authorized before review window closes. Adam stared at the words. Kael whispered, They will strike before the council can say the council failed. The cabin radio crackled. Not the local emergency channel. Something stronger had pushed through. A woman's voice spoke in polished English. Unidentified Earth personnel sheltering Varkhen deserter Kael Vorn. You are interfering with lawful military recovery. The subject in your custody is accused of treason. theft of classified material, and participation in war crimes. Secure him for transfer. Medical handling instructions will be provided after compliance. Adam looked at Kael. That was fast. Kael managed a bitter smile. Sarah Vey, Diplomatic Compliance Office. Sounds friendly. She will sound friendly while handing me to the men who shot my escape pod. Adam crossed to a metal locker and pulled out a black case. He opened it, revealing a satellite handset modified for shielded emergency use. He called the only doctor he trusted who would not ask stupid questions before stopping a bleed. Dr. Lena Brooks answered on the fourth ring, voice rough with sleep. Adam, I have an injured non-human in Blackridge. Armor trauma, unknown toxins, pursuit risk. A pause. How unknown? Varkhen. The pause turned heavier. Tell me you are joking. I am not. Is he dangerous? Yes, also dying. Also carrying evidence that civilians on Vera are about to be killed. Lena exhaled once. Send me vitals if you can. I'm on my way. Come dark. No main roads. Adam, if the guard is involved, every road will be watched. I know. You always say that like it makes things better. It makes things accurate. He ended the call. Kael watched him. You believe me? No. Then why call her? Because if you die before I decide, the decision is made for me. Kael shut his eyes. For the first time, Adam saw not just pain in his face, but shame. It sat under the skin like an old bruise. I was not assigned to kill them at first, Kael said. Adam said nothing. I signed technical confirmations. Route security, drone limits, evacuation windows. Words that meant nothing if you did not look at where the routes ended. You looked eventually. Too late. Usually is. Kael opened his eyes. Do humans forgive that? Adam thought of men he had carried and men he had left. He thought of orders that were legal because someone far away had made them legal. He thought of villages that existed on maps only after cameras arrived. No, he said. Not quickly. Not cleanly. Maybe not at all. Kael nodded as if he had hoped for that. Answer. Good. The cabin lights flickered. Adam moved to the window and saw white light sweep across the far trees. Lena would not make it in time unless he changed the shape of the hunt. He went to the back wall, pulled down a tarp, and uncovered an old metal trunk. Inside were training charges, signal mirrors, thermal blankets, climbing rope, 2 flares, and a dozen fist-sized devices he used to teach students how easily a careless signal could give them away. He took 3. What are those? Kael asked. Bad habits in a box. Adam wrapped one in foil, tied it to the dead beacon node he had recovered from the creek, and set the device to pulse warm every 9 seconds. Then he opened the back hatch and threw it downslope toward the creek bed. A second went into the stovepipe. A third he placed under the floor, far from Kael. Your blood gives them a signal, Adam said. So we give them 3 signals. Outside, the drones split. Adam allowed himself one thin breath. Then the cabin door shook under a precise, heavy strike. A voice spoke from outside, deep and amplified. Adam Rourke of Earth, step away from the deserter. Adam looked at Kael. Friend of yours. Kael's face hardened. Rathomrin, the voice outside continued. You are sheltering a murderer. Do not add your name to his crime. Adam moved to the side wall, not the door. Funny thing about names, he called back. People keep trying to take them off the dead. Silence. Then Rathomrin said, You do not understand what he is. Adam glanced at Kael. I am getting a pretty good idea. The strike came again. Adam fired through the floor, not at the door. At the training device beneath it, the device burst with a flash of white heat and a scream of signal noise. Drones outside jerked toward the false source. Adam grabbed Kael, kicked open the back hatch, and pulled him into the rain as the cabin door finally split. They slid down the slope behind the cabin, through fern and mud, while Varkhen soldiers entered a room full of false heat and empty blankets. A shot snapped past Adam's shoulder. He did not return fire. Not yet. Killing one Varkhen soldier would turn a rescue into an incident Earth could not control. So he cut left, dragged Kael through a narrow chute between rocks, and pulled a loose pin from a line he had set years earlier for avalanche training. Behind them, a shelf of wet stone gave way. Not enough to bury anyone, enough to block pursuit for 60 seconds. Kael stared as Adam hauled him up. "You prepared your forest for war." "I prepared it for idiots." "You expected soldiers?" "I expected people to underestimate bad terrain." They moved again. By dawn, Lena Brooks found them in a culvert beneath an old service road. She arrived in a mud-covered truck with her headlights off and her hair tied under a rain hood. She took one look at Kael and said exactly one curse under her breath. Then she got to work. Her hands were small, quick, and steady. She cut away the fused edges of Kael's armor, drew dark fluid into a clear vial, and watched it separate into silver threads. "His armor is poisoning him," she said. "It is designed to," Kael whispered. "If captured," Lena looked at him. "Who designs armor that kills its own wounded?" Kael did not answer. Adam did. Someone who fears witnesses more than enemies. Lena set a portable filter against Kael's ribs and pushed a needle through the softer tissue beneath his arm. Kael arched, teeth clenched, but made no sound. "Do not be proud," Lena said. "A pain is information. If it changes, tell me." Kael blinked at her. "You are helping me after seeing the emblem. I am helping you because you are bleeding on Earth soil, and Adam has not shot you. That buys you care, not trust." Kael looked at Adam. "Is everyone here like this?" "No," Adam said. "The best ones are worse." Lena worked for 20 minutes. When she finished, Kael's breathing had steadied, but his color remained wrong. "This is temporary," she said. "He needs a full med bay. He needs to reach Ridge 9 station," Adam said. Lena froze. "No, yes. Ridge 9 barely survived the last winter. The tower is unstable, the power bank is half dead, and every transmitter on that mountain screams its location. Can it punch through orbital interference? For a few minutes, if Miles has not let the system rot, and if the wind does not rip the panels loose, and if nobody shoots it." Adam looked toward the ridge. "Then we need Miles." Lena's face tightened. "Adam," he heard everything she did not say. Miles Carter was not a soldier. He was a widower who fixed towers and hated leaving his workshop after dark. Helen Crossley, if she got involved, would be risking more than a memo. Every person Adam called would become part of the line. Between Kael and the men hunting him, that was how Sanctuary worked in the real world. It did not arrive as a flag, it arrived as someone answering a phone before they knew the cost. "Call him," Adam said. "Lena did." Miles answered with a string of complaints so loud Adam could hear him through the handset. Then Lena said, "There are civilians on Vera." Miles stopped complaining. "How many?" "We do not know." "That means enough." He hung up. An hour later, while grey morning spread over Blackridge, Cerave addressed Earth through every official channel. Her image appeared on public feeds, calm and flawless, silver hair tucked behind pointed ears, hands folded over a white desk. She did not look angry. That made it worse. Earth authorities are currently harboring Kael Vorn, a Varkhen military officer wanted for treason, theft, and confirmed participation in unlawful operations. The Galactic Council urges immediate compliance with transfer protocols. Any delay may endanger ongoing relief agreements in multiple border regions. Taven Rel, the most watched galactic correspondent in 3 sectors, picked up the story within minutes. His voice was smooth, sorrowful, and poisonous. Humanity has built much of its new identity around Sanctuary. But today, we must ask whether Earth knows the difference between sheltering the vulnerable and hiding a war criminal. He showed Kael in clean armor from years before, standing in formation beneath the Varkhen banner. He did not show Mira Solon. He did not show the child etching names. He did not show the line that authorized clearance before review. In a small office in Geneva, Helen Crossley watched the broadcast with both hands flat on her desk. She was not a general, not a president, and not the kind of person history painted in dramatic light. She ran the Earth Sanctuary office, which mostly meant she fought over transport permits, medical exceptions, refugee quotas, and which government would pay for oxygen tanks when rescued species breathed something expensive. Her deputy stood in the doorway. They want a signature. I know. If we refuse, they can suspend 3 aid corridors. I know. Do we have confirmation that civilians are alive? Helen replayed the broken image of Mira Solon holding the ledger. No, she said. We have enough to know someone is trying very hard to make sure we never get confirmation. Her deputy looked pale. That is not a legal category. Helen reached for the transfer order. No, she said. It is a human one she did not sign. Instead, she issued a delay pending civilian risk review. It bought Adam 6 hours. It might cost her 3 corridors. By then, Adam, Lena, and Kael were moving toward Ridge 9. The route climbed through old logging cuts and granite shelves, then narrowed into a line of wet stone above a ravine. Kael could walk now, but only if Adam kept one hand on his armor and Lena kept the filter, strapped tight against his side. Miles Carter met them at the old service gate with a pack full of tools and a face full of regret. I want it known, he said, that this is a stupid plan. Adam passed him without stopping. It is Ridge 9. I meant coming with you. You came. That is how I know it is stupid. Miles looked at Kael and lost the rest of his words. Kael lowered his head. I am sorry, Miles frowned. For what? For bringing this to your world. Miles adjusted the tool pack on his shoulder. You did not bring it. You crashed. There is a difference. They climbed. At noon, a drone found them. Adam heard it before he saw it, not by sound, but by the forest's reaction. Birds burst from a fir stand all at once, too low. Too sudden. Down. Everyone dropped. The drone skimmed over the ridge, black and narrow, scanning in smooth arcs. Adam pulled a thermal blanket over Kael and shoved Lena beneath a rock lip. Miles held his breath so hard his cheeks puffed out. The drone paused. Kael's hand moved toward Adam's wrist. It seized the filter, he whispered. Adam took a flare from his pack, cracked the seal, and threw it downslope into a patch of wet cedar. White heat burst through the brush. The drone turned toward it. Adam fired once. The bullet struck. Not the drone, but a dead branch above it. The branch fell, tangled in the drone's fins, and sent it spinning into the ravine. Miles stared. You shot the tree. The tree had better odds. A second drone rose from the opposite side. Kael lifted a shaking hand. Its blind angle is below rear left for 2 seconds after a turn. Adam did not ask how he knew. He moved. He slid down the rock face, caught the drone's turn, and threw a rope hook into its side. The hook caught. The drone jerked, fought, and pulled the rope tight. Adam wrapped the rope around a stump and let the machine's own thrust drag it sideways into stone. It shattered with a bright crack. No one cheered. 2 drones meant Rath Omran had narrowed the search. Adam turned to Kael. How? Long before they know we are going to Ridge 9. Kael looked toward the mountain. They already know. On Vera, under Corin Valley. Mira Solon listened to static and counted the living. She did it every 4 hours, even when the children slept, even when the old miners begged her to rest, even when the ceiling dust fell and made everyone look like ghosts. Names first, bodies second, food third. That was the order she had chosen after the first aid ship turned away. At the start, there had been 3,600 names in the Arlen Convoy. Miners from the North Belt, families from the processing towns, teachers, mechanics, tunnel cooks, 2 choirs, 1 librarian, 37 infants, and an old man who repaired broken toys because he said children deserve proof that not all broken things were thrown away. Now there were fewer than 900. The ledger was not 1 book. Paper had run out. Screens had died. So they wrote names on metal plates. Cloth strips, plastic packaging, the backs of ration lids, anything that could hold a mark. Naro Ven sat beside Mira with a stylus clutched in both hands. He was small for his age, with large dark eyes and a serious mouth. He had appointed himself keeper of names children forgot how to pronounce. "Say it again," he told an old woman lying near the wall. The old woman smiled weakly. "Tamaril," Naro scratched carefully. "Tamaril." Her sister was Sovi. "Sovi. Do not write them too close," the old woman said. "They fought all the time." Naro left a space between the names. Mira turned away before her face broke. Ilimaro came through the tunnel, carrying a medical bag that looked flatter every day. "We have 2 more fevers," he said quietly. "Children." "1 child. 1 adult," Mira nodded. "Can they move if we have to?" Eli did not answer. Above them, distant thunder rolled, not weather engines. Mitra looked toward the sealed transmitter box. "Any return from Earth?" "Nothing clear. If we transmit the full ledger, they will find us. They already know the valley," Eli said. "They know the valley. They do not know the tunnel." Naro looked up. "If they do not hear our names, will they think we were never here?" Mira wanted to say no. She wanted to tell him the galaxy was not so cruel, that records mattered, and that the Council would never let a whole people become a clerical absence, but children listened for truth better than adults. "That is why we keep writing," she said. The transmitter flickered. A broken signal formed, distorted by distance. A human voice came through. "This is Ridge Support Relay, attempting to reach the Arlen Convoy. Hold your ledger. Do not transmit until called. We are coming online." Mira closed her eyes. For the first time in days, no one in the tunnel spoke. Then Naro whispered, "Someone heard." The Varkhen attack clock moved forward. Kael felt it before Adam saw the message. What remained of his armor gave a low tone. Not a warning for injury. Something deeper. He stopped on the trail. Adam turned. "What?" Kael's face had gone still. They advanced the clearance window. "How long?" Kael swallowed. "Less than 2 hours." Miles stared up the mountain. Ridge 9 station sat above them, still half hidden by cloud. Farther than hope should have been. "That climb is 40 minutes if everyone has 2 working lungs," he said. Kael looked at Adam. "Leave me the core." "Go without me." "No. Rourke, the data can still expose them. The data cannot cancel the strike." Kael's jaw tightened. "If I slow you down, they die. If you stop, they die. Then carry the core and say I was dead." Adam stepped close enough that Kael had to look at him. "I am not saving your past," Adam said. "I am saving the people your past can still reach." "That means you keep moving." Kael's eyes shifted, not away, but inward. "I signed the first route lock," he said. "The one that trapped them in the valley." Adam did not soften. "Then unlock it." Kael nodded once. They climbed. The last approach to Ridge 9 was a spine of rock with forest falling away on both sides. Wind hit them hard. Rain turned to sleet. The old station appeared at the top as a cluster of concrete rooms, rusted railings, and one tall broadcast mast leaning slightly east. As if tired of holding up the sky, Miles reached the control door first. He entered a code, cursed when nothing happened, kicked the frame. Then entered a second code. The door opened. "Still stupid," he said, and vanished inside. The station smelled of dust, cold metal, and mice. Old Earth equipment lined the walls beside newer relay boxes, added during the first years of galactic contact, and then mostly forgotten. Ridge 9 had once been built to reach isolated towns after storms. Later it had been patched to speak upward, towards satellites, rescue craft, and anything else listening beyond the weather. Now it had to speak through a military blackout. Miles dropped to his knees beneath a console. "I need 10 minutes. "We have less," Adam said. "Then I need 10 minutes faster." Lena helped Kael into a chair near the main relay. The filter at his side was dark with silver poison. "You are not stable," she said. Kael tried to smile. "I have been told. I mean, you may lose consciousness. Do not let me. I am a doctor, not a magician. Tonight you are both." Lena looked at Adam. "I hate him a little." "Good," Adam said. "Keeps you focused." The first shot hit the outer wall. Concrete dust fell from the ceiling. Adam moved to the narrow window and saw Varkhen soldiers spreading below the ridge, dark shapes against wet stone. Rathomran stood behind them in full armor, helm off, face calm and severe. His voice came through Adam's captured Varkhen comm. "Rourke, You have reached a dead station with a dying criminal. There is still a clean exit. Transfer him. Walk away. Adam keyed the comm. You shot his escape pod. A regrettable containment decision. That is a sentence only a guilty man could love. Rath's voice did not change. Kael Vorn helped authorize the Arlen operation. Did he tell you that? Yes. Did he tell you how many doors he closed before opening one? Adam looked at Kael. Kael closed his eyes. Yes, Adam said. Then you shelter him, knowing what he is. Adam watched a Varkhen soldier shift behind a rock. No, he said. I shelter him, knowing what he can still stop. Rath went silent. Then the assault began. It was not a charge. Rath was too disciplined for that. He sent 2 soldiers along the east rail, 1 drone high to cut the antenna line, and another team low toward the generator shed. Adam recognized the shape of it immediately. They were not trying to take the station. They were trying to make the broadcast impossible. He moved. The east rail team hit the first trap at the bend. A climbing line snapped tight across their knees, not enough to maim, but enough to drop them behind cover. Adam fired 2 shots into stone above them, showering their visors with fragments. The drone went for the antenna. Kael shouted, "Rear left, 2 seconds." Adam grabbed the old flare pistol from the emergency cabinet, aimed ahead of where the drone would turn, and fired. The flare struck the mast, burst, and filled the drone's sensors with white heat. It veered blind. Miles, halfway under the console, looked up just long enough to throw a wrench. The wrench missed the drone. It hit the mast brace. The brace swung loose and clipped the drone into the wall. Miles blinked. That was intentional. No, it was not, Lena said. It helped, Adam said. A blast shook the generator shed. The lights went out. For one breath, Bridge 9 died. Then red emergency strips glowed along the floor. Miles crawled backward, face streaked with dust. They killed main power. I can give you battery reserve, maybe 4 minutes. Kael looked at the dark screens. 4 is enough. It is never enough, Miles said. But it is what the mountain has. Helen Crossley's voice broke through on the relay, thin but clear. Ridge 9, this is Earth Sanctuary Office. Adam, I have a signed transfer demand and 3 corridor suspension threats on my desk. Adam pressed the comm. Understood. I am not signing yet. Adam allowed himself 1 second to close his eyes. Helen continued. I can hold them while you verify civilian risk, but once that station broadcasts, they will call it interference. It is interference, Adam said. Then make it worth the word. The screens came alive. Miles shouted, Window open! Kael pushed himself upright. Lena held him by the shoulders. The relay asked for identity. Kael placed his bloodied hand on the core. My name is Kael Vorn, he said. Former Technical Confirmation Officer, Varkhen Guard. Vera Stabilization Command. The system accepted his voice. The screen asked for operation code. Kael gave it. A file tree opened. Rows of missions appeared. Dates, routes, clearance orders. Civilian status changes. Redacted names. Kael stared at them as if each line had a face. Lena whispered. Kael, he selected all. The system warned that full release would include self-incriminating command records. Kael's hand trembled. Adam stood at the door with blood running down his sleeve from a cut he had not noticed. Rath Omrin's voice came again, louder now. Do not do this. You will not be forgiven by them. You will not be forgiven by us. Kael looked at Adam. Adam said, This was never about being forgiven. Kael released the files across the galaxy. Taven Rel's live broadcast changed. At first, he smiled because Ridge 9's signal had entered his feed. He'd likely expected to show a desperate human sheltering a criminal. Then the first images appeared behind him. Mira Solon, holding metal plates covered in names, Eli Maro listing the sick Naro Ven, reading names in a child's careful voice. The tunnels of Corin Valley filled not with fighters, but with families, blankets, empty medicine wraps, and people too tired to stand. Tavin stopped speaking. Mira's voice came through. Thin but steady, this is the name ledger of the Arlen Convoy. We are civilians of Vera. We transmit our living, our dead, and our missing. We ask not to be erased. Name after name began to scroll, not as data alone. Each name was paired with a voice if the person still lived, a witness if they had died, or a mark if they were missing. Kael watched the names appear, then came the strike. Authorization, Rath Omrin's command seal, Kael's old technical. Rourke, the council review delay, the scheduled clearance. The words population risk appeared beside images of children. Public pressure did not explode all at once. It broke like ice under too much weight. One feed picked up the names, then a second, then thousands. Messages flooded through open channels. First confused, then angry, then horrified. Sarah Vey appeared on the official line, face pale beneath her composure. Ridge 9. Cease transmission, pending authentication. Helen crossly answered before Adam could. Authentication is the transmission. Sarah's voice sharpened. Earth is interfering with a recognized military stabilization, Helen said. Earth is verifying a civilian massacre in progress. At the console, the system asked for final cancel code. Kael swayed. Lena gripped his jaw. Stay with me. I am here. No, you are leaving. Stay. Kael tried to speak the code. His voice failed. Outside, Rath sent his last team. They breached the lower door. Adam met them in the stairwell. He did not fight like a hero in a story. He fought like a man who knew exactly what the next 10 seconds were worth. He used the narrow walls, the broken railing, the dark, and the fact that armored soldiers expected him to retreat. He dropped the first with a strike to the knee joint. He slammed the second into a fuse box and filled the stairwell with sparks. The third caught him in the ribs and drove him against concrete hard enough to steal his breath. Adam held on. Above him, Kael tried again. The system rejected the voice sample. Too weak, Miles said. It needs a clean phrase. Kael's eyes rolled. Lena looked toward Adam. He was pinned halfway down the stair. Adam! He heard her. He drove his thumb into the release seam under the Varkhen soldier's wrist guard, twisted, and let the armor's own lock seize the man's hand. Then he shoved him down 2 steps and staggered back into the broadcast room. Blood darkened his shirt. He went to Kael, took him by the front of the ruined armor, and pulled him close. You locked the route, Adam said. Now unlock it. Kael's lips moved. I cannot. You can. I killed them. You helped trap them. You can help free them. Kael looked at the wall of names on the screen. Naro Ven was still reading. Voice shaking now as explosions sounded above Corin Valley. Kael closed his eyes. Then he spoke. Not loudly, but clearly. Cancel clearance strike on Corin Valley. Authority Kael Vorn, Technical Confirmation Officer. I rescind route lock Arlen. The system waited. Kael added the final words. The ones no officer would speak unless accepting responsibility. Prior confirmation was unlawful. The station seemed to hold its breath. Then the code transmitted. Miles. Watch the progress bar crawl across the screen. Come on! Come on! Outside, the masts screamed in the wind. Inside, every alarm began to sound. Corin Valley's feed shook violently. Mira grabbed Naro and pulled him down. Dust filled the image. Eli shouted for everyone to get beneath the beams. Then the feed vanished. The progress bar reached full. Strike cancellation delivered. No one moved. Rath Omrin's soldiers stopped firing. Tavin. Rel's broadcast showed only static from Corin Valley and the last frozen image of Naro's face. Kael stared at the empty feed. Too late, he whispered. Adam wanted to answer. But there was nothing honest to say for 10 seconds. Ridge 9 was silent except for wind and alarms. Then a broken signal returned. At first it was only sound. Coughing, stone shifting, someone crying. Then the image cleared enough to show Mirasolin on her knees in a tunnel filled with dust. Blood ran from her forehead. In her arms, Naroven moved. The boy lifted his head. Did they hear us? He asked. Mira looked straight into the transmitter. Earth heard, she said. Behind her, people began to stand. Not all of them. Never all. Some did not rise. Some names would move from living to dead before the day ended, but the convoy was not gone. The valley had not been cleared. The Arlen people had not vanished into a clean Military sentence. Lena sat down hard on the floor. Miles covered his face with both hands. Kael made a sound too, quiet to be relief. Adam looked at the screen until he was sure the boy was breathing. Then he sank against the wall. The aftermath did not arrive as victory. It arrived as paperwork, sirens, medical transports, public outrage, denials, emergency council sessions, and footage replayed so many times the galaxy could no longer pretend it had not seen. The Varkhen Guard announced that Wrath Oberyn had exceeded authority. No one believed that. Entirely, the council suspended the Corrin. Operation pending investigation. No one believed that was enough. Sarah Vey issued a statement about procedural gaps and urgent review. Helen Crossley answered, with a list of corridors Earth would keep open. Whether the council liked it or not, Taven Rell tried to recover his old tone for one more broadcast. He said the story was complex. He said Kael Vorn's crimes could not be ignored. He said Earth's actions raised difficult questions about sovereignty and sanctuary. Then his own viewers flooded his channel with names from the ledger: Mira Solon, Eli, Maro, Naroven, Tama, Ril, Sovi Ril, thousands more. For once, the names were heavier than the commentary. Earth opened the corridor within 24 hours. The first Arlen survivors arrived in winter rain at a converted airfield in northern Canada. They came down the ramp slowly, wrapped in heated blankets, blinking at the grey sky. Some carried bags. Most carried nothing. Mira Solon carried the original plates of the name ledger in a sealed case against her chest. Eli Maro walked beside a stretcher, still working, still counting pulses. Naroven held a strip of cloth covered in names and refused to let any adult take it from him. Adam watched from beside a hangar door with his ribs taped and his left arm in a sling. Lena stood next to him. You are supposed to be in bed. I am leaning. That is not a medical category. It should be. Miles sat on a crate nearby, drinking bad coffee and telling anyone who listened that Ridge 9 had performed above expectations because he had personally threatened it. Kael Vorn was not on the ramp. He stood behind a security barrier under witness protection. No armor now, only a plain grey medical coat. Without the Varkhen plates, he looked younger and smaller, though no less marked. 2 Earth officers stood near him, not as jailers exactly, and not as guards exactly, something in between. That was the honest place for him. Mira saw him. For a long moment, neither moved. Kael lowered his head. Mira walked toward him. The hangar quieted as people noticed. Adam straightened, then stopped himself. This was not his moment to protect unless protection was needed. Mira stopped in front of Kael. You opened the lock, she said. Kael's voice was low. After helping build it. Yes, I will testify. Yes, I do not ask you to forgive me. Mira looked back toward the survivors. Nara watched from beside Eli, clutching the cloth. No, she said. You do not. She opened the sealed case and removed a thin copy plate from the ledger. She held it out. Kael stared at it as if she had offered a weapon. What is this? The names we lost before Earth heard us. His hand shook when he took it. Mira did not touch him. She did not smile. She did not make his guilt smaller so the room could feel better. If you live to speak, she said, carry these too. Kael bowed his head over the plate. I will. Mira turned away and went back to her people. Adam felt Lena glance at him. What? He asked. Nothing. You have a nothing face. I was thinking you look relieved. I am not. Liar. Adam looked at the hangar. At the Arlen survivors being guided toward warm rooms. At Helen Crossley arguing into a phone near the far wall, calm as a blade. At Miles pretending not to cry into his coffee. Then he looked at Kael, holding the names of people he had failed and helped save too late for some, but not too late for all. Beyond the open hangar doors, Earth rain kept falling. No, Adam said quietly. Not relieved. What then? Adam watched Naroven kneel beside a blank wall near the intake tables. The boy had found a marker. He was writing the first name from his cloth in careful English letters, guided by a volunteer who sounded each one out for him. Tamaril. Below it, After a small space, he wrote "Sovi Rill." More survivors gathered. Some began to write. Some only touched the wall. Some whispered names to Earth volunteers who wrote them down when grief made hands shake too hard. The wall filled slowly, not a monument yet, not official, not approved, just a white hangar wall on a rainy day. Turning into proof, Kael saw it. So did Mira, so did every camera that had come expecting. Political theater, and found something quieter. Adam breathed through the pain in his ribs. Now, they have a place to write, he said. By evening, the council issued a formal recognition of the Arlen Convoy as a protected civilian community. It did not bring back the dead. It did not clean Kael's past. It did not erase the threats against Earth or reopen every corridor that had been suspended in anger. But the words mattered because they had come after the wall, not before it. The council had not handed the Arlen people their names. The Arlen people had carried them. Earth had given them a wall when the galaxy gave them a label. Weeks later, Adam returned to Blackridge Forest. The crash scar had begun to heal badly, as scars did. Rain had filled the deepest rut. Ferns pushed through black soil. The cabin needed a new door, a new floor, and less blood in its memories. His next class stood where the old one had stood, nervous in the dark. Listening to the forest, Adam watched them listen. Fear still had a sound. So did courage, though it was harder to teach. Courage was not loud. It was not a clean speech or a fearless heart. Sometimes it was a doctor driving without headlights toward a hunted man. Sometimes it was a technician climbing a dead tower in the rain. Sometimes it was a tired official refusing to sign a paper fast enough to kill strangers. Sometimes it was a child writing names on a wall so the universe could not pretend the dead had been numbers. And sometimes it was one person in a forest, finding a wounded enemy in the mud and choosing not to close the last door. Adam looked up through the trees. Above Earth, the galaxy kept moving. Cold councils, polished statements, old powers, new excuses. There would be other names, other doors, other people called risks, so no one had to call them families. He knew that now. He also knew something. Else Earth did not become a sanctuary because it was safe. It became a sanctuary each time someone made it one. One open. Door one held signal, one name written where the whole galaxy could see, and maybe that was what the galaxy had. Forgotten, a sanctuary was not just a place with open doors. It was a place where someone was brave, enough to keep a wounded stranger alive. A place where the truth was protected long enough to be heard. A place where the forgotten were not counted as risks or numbers or problems to be erased. They were given back their names, their faces, their voices, and on Earth, beneath a quiet sky, the survivors of the Arlen Convoy wrote those names where no council, no army, and no cold report could ever remove them again. Adam Rourke did not ask the galaxy to call humanity noble. He did not ask for praise. He simply stood at the last open door, wounded and steady, while others came through it. And sometimes that is what humanity means, not being perfect, not being powerful enough to fix every broken system, but refusing to let the helpless disappear just because the rest of the universe found it easier to look away. If this story moved you, please take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who loves emotional science fiction stories. Your support helps more stories like this reach the people who need them. And if you want to, leave a comment below. Tell us what you think Earth should stand for when the galaxy turns its back. Thank you for listening. Hope this story stays with you for a while, and I hope to see you again in the next one.